China may have given us the Wuhan, but one of their spies had to sleep with Eric Swalwell, allegedly. Welcome to Ruthless.
U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
If Joe Biden wins, Democrats can sack the courts.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Maybe that's a question you should ask China.
Anyway, my time's up.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do. It's a whole hoax. And you know who's playing into the hoax? People like you and the fake news media.
We are born free and we will stay free.
Well, Smug.
Now that's an opener.
we got a lot of China stuff to deal with here.
Yeah, there was a lot of late breaking news yesterday, wasn't there?
Oh boy!
Holy moly!
Boy, oh boy! What should we do? Should we start with Hunter Biden? Because I mean, let's get to Swalwell, but let's make people wait for it.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite topic, ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Biden. News broke late yesterday that he is being investigated by the feds related to his taxes. I mean, we told you folks, where there's smoke, there's fire. For the longest time, we've been asking, where's Hunter? And here you go. It begins.
Well, here it is.
What's the story, Josh?
Here it is. So I'm going to take this from CNN, the fake news capital of the world, because I think they just deserve it, frankly.
Yes.
But here's a quote out of their own story today. The investigation began as early as 2018. Let me just stop on that. The investigation began as early as 2018. You know, we've got a lot of entrepreneurial reporters over the last couple of years that have been managed to get underneath investigations and figure out whether they were happening or not. Somehow this one has completely flown under the radar.
Isn't that something?
Amazing. We found out about investigations into President Trump when they didn't even exist. But this one has been going on apparently 2+ years.
Yeah. And you know what? I think there's a lot to be said also about the fact that the investigation began as early as 2018. I mean, the fact that this is very clearly not a political move related to the presidential election, Biden didn't announce until 2019. The fact that this predates that tells you this kid is trouble. I mean, we all knew he was trouble, but now he has federal trouble.
So the way that the Bidens are playing this is this is a new information situation where they were just informed Tuesday that he was ultimately under investigation. Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Somebody may have just notified them. The problem with all of that is that in this same CNN article, it says Sinclair Broadcasting reported in October that the FBI had opened this criminal investigation into Hunter Biden.
Mm-hmm.
They say now CNN has now learned new details in terms of the scope. Well, here's the problem. All of the information that was being peddled about Hunter Biden by Rudy Giuliani, ultimately, that the mainstream press congratulated themselves for ignoring
and hiding. Like after election day, the way that so many journalists on Twitter were spiking the football saying, hey guys, good job all of us for suppressing the Hunter Biden news, saying that was Russian disinformation. They should all be ashamed of themselves.
Absolutely, completely ashamed of themselves, because what they were talking about in October is ultimately exactly what has just been unveiled in the first week of December.
Yeah. And
right?
You know what? I'm going to call a spade for a spade. These journalists were meddling in the election. They were trying to keep the American people in the dark, and they should be held accountable for this. This is unacceptable from, these people who consider themselves firefighters that are out there saving lives, doing God's work as journalists. This information has come out, and a lot of these folks knew about it. A lot of these folks did everything they could to suppress any information on Hunter Biden and push that BS that it's all, this is all just Russian disinformation.
They're a propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. There's just no question about it. And here's the seal of the deal for me. is there's this Politico article that basically every outlet wrote this same story, but the headline in this Politico article is too good not to read. It says Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say.
Yeah. Who are these officials? Who are these folks that are saying this disinformation?
I'm glad you asked, Smug. So you go in and you read the article, and they have a letter that is written poorly, I might add, by 50 or so intel officials, but they're the usual suspects, right? Jim Clapper, Mike Hayden, Leon Panetta, John Brennan, basically everyone who delivered the frickin' P-tape to Trump's desk the moment that he was sworn in. These people have been lying to the press under the guise of classified information for 4 years. And now they show up in October of an election year to tell you that the very real information that you were being told by the New York Post, which is the only outlet that reported it, about Hunter Biden's situation with China is Russian disinformation.
You know, anytime, and it always makes me so irate whenever I see anyone referring to Clapper and Brennan as intel officials, when all they are is just comm staffers for the Democratic Party. That's all they are. That's all they've always been. They're political hacks. All they do is push the talking points, and these journalists just eat it up.
It's it. And there's always the guise of like, well, I can't tell you everything because I have a classified clearance.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you enough to completely mislead you about what the actual facts are. Right. And that's what these guys professionally do for a living. They're all employed by CNN and MSNBC. They go on and they've lied for 4 years about Donald Trump.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden we see what's happened with regard to Hunter Biden. Let me read a little bit more of this CNN article because I think it's...
Let's hear it.
Investigators appear to be focused on Hunter Biden's business activities connected to China. Oh, holy shit. Yeah. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I thought that's what the Russian disinformation was about.
Yeah, it turns out it was all true all along.
So some of it, I'm quoting again, some of his business dealings in China are publicly known through interviews and documents released by the September Senate Republican on Finance Committee and the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs hearings. Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean the ones that were completely ignored?
Yes, that's the one. This is just so infuriating. The American people were kept in the dark on all this information. The Senate, the Senate Republicans on Finance Committee released this report, and the media did everything they could to push these talking points from these left-wing activists masquerading as intel officials, saying that this is Russian disinformation. Well, guess what? It's all true.
So John Roberts tweeted last night, that sources tell Fox News that Biden was made aware of the investigation on Tuesday. Before then, the investigation was quote unquote covert. Sources say that DOJ is very sensitive about moving on an investigation from covert to overt during an election if it could potentially affect the outcome. You mean like Russia?
Yeah, right. Like,
you mean like Russia?
How much did the deep state drop on saying, "Oh my God, Donald Trump is working for the Kremlin. He's a KGB officer." Like the amount of bonkers conspiracy theory stuff the American people were subjected to, and then actual wrongdoing was completely papered over by the journalists and trying to hide it and pull the wool over the American people's eyes. It's unacceptable. It's meddling in the election, and they should be held accountable.
I mean, that's truly the perpetrator here, right? Yeah. I mean, you can be angry at the Bidens, you can be angry at the Democratic Party, but that's not why this is happening. Mm-hmm. Why this is happening is you have a mainstream press that all collectively joined hands and decided that it was more important to campaign for the Democratic candidate for president than inform the American people about something that they all knew was happening.
There it is, right there. That's what gets me, is because everyone knew that the Biden family is crooked as all hell. That became accepted fact pretty much. the story here to me is not just that the Bidens are crooked. The story to me here is that the mainstream media did everything they could to hide this from the American people. That's every single American should be completely outraged at this point. Completely outraged. Like, you had all this news. Like, I remember when the New York Post started breaking this story on Hunter Biden and all his shadiness, that article, like, that got their account locked on Twitter. Like, that had them completely censored, which apparently it's now apparent was all true. And they, this big tech company, you got Twitter doing everything they can hide it, and you have all these journalists holding hands together doing everything they can to suppress this information from the American people. It's an outrage.
Well, the only reason that we're reading about it today, honestly, Smug, is because the Biden transition team confirmed it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's
unbelievable.
They wanted to get ahead of the story, and so they confirmed that this investigation was in fact happening. But what we know from the actual reporting today is it's been happening since 2018. It was reported by Sinclair Broadcasting, which takes a bath in the mainstream media for having a conservative tilt, reported it in October of 2018 or of 2020. I mean, they have willfully ignored all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Willfully ignored all of this. And I got to tell you, man, this is a revolution is coming. It really is coming. There is nobody who is interested in hearing from the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, CBS, ABC, NBC, all of this CNN, all of these nonsense publications and outlets who have decided that they are going to become a propaganda arm of whatever political party they are potentially supporting at the time.
That's it right there in a nutshell. That's it right there. And you know what? We have even more news about Democrats compromised by China. Our dear friend, Eric Swalwell, you folks might remember him from his famous moments of flatulence on live television. Apparently, he's been caught up with some Chinese spy. What's the story on that, Josh?
Well, I mean, in addition to being just like the world-class douche of U.S. Congress, which he is. I mean, it's just like you look at him and you want to shove him in a locker.
To be one of the biggest douches in the House is, that's almost an accomplishment.
It should come with a crown or a medal.
Yeah, congratulations, Eric Swalwell. My God, one of the, if not the biggest douche in the House, and now apparently he's been compromised by a Chinese agent.
Yeah, so it was uncovered today that there was a Chinese spy by the name of Feng Feng.
What a name!
And Feng Feng focused her efforts on infiltrating the American political system on the Bay Area, and. What they say in the story is basically they focus on the Bay Area because an awful lot of prominent Democrats come from there, and young up-and-comers who ultimately become part of the leadership of the country come from the Bay Area.
And this seems like a pattern, because if I remember correctly, it was Dianne Feinstein who's on the Senate Intelligence Committee who had a Chinese spy in her shop over there, right? That it was Feinstein.
It's like they've cracked the code, right? Yeah. They just show up in San Francisco.
Dems in San Francisco are morons.
Right. They're absolute idiots. And
China knows, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They need useful idiots. Let's find some Dems.
For like all of the stereotypes that Democrats like to make about deep South Republicans, it is way worse.
Seriously.
Chinese, objectively from the outside, spying on our country, say, no.
Yeah, good luck. I want to see China's attempts at trying to trick a Southern Republican into colluding.
Yeah, right. What they're saying is like the easiest way in is to find this like total douchebag in San Francisco or
Northern Feng is like, you know what? I need to collude this congressman. He's a total moron. Let's get. So she's been colluding Swalwell for some time or something. How long was this going on? When was it going on?
Yeah, so Fang Fang, I mean, it's sort of unclear, but Fang Fang raised a lot of money for Swalwell and became part of sort of his inner circle, allegedly. And where this gets really interesting is that part of the allegations about Fang Fang is that she spread out. She tried to go to the Midwest and everything else, and she slept with a couple of mayors, according to these stories, right? But so she's clearly like a honeypot.
She's, oh man, this can't be, she must have drawn the short straw at the Chinese Spy Academy, man. Like, some of them are sent to infiltrate Senate offices like Feinstein. And now they're sending her to go bang mayors. And worst of all, poor Fang Fang is sent to seduce Eric Swalwell. This is like,
so let's say at the outset,
worst job possible
let's
in
say
the Chinese spy agency.
Let's say at the outset, we don't know, because Eric Swalwell's office will not speak about whether or not Eric Swalwell slept with this woman.
So it's currently many people are saying status.
So many people are saying, but they will not confirm that.
Here's my thinking personally. I'm not a comm staffer on the Hill or anything, but if my congressman is not sleeping with a Chinese spy, I would try to make that very clear if there were allegations saying otherwise. The fact that you're going no comment on this, I mean, shit.
Hey, did you bang the Chinese spy? No comment.
Simple question. Yeah,
No
drop
comment.
a no comment on that is like, wow, okay.
And here's the thing: like, I don't know much about Swalwell, but it doesn't strike me as though she had to be like, the ultimate spy in order to make that happen.
Oh, many people are saying.
Many
people are saying it doesn't take a lot of work to land Swalwell.
It seems like Swalwell sort of walked right into this honeypot situation, allegedly. Like, again, it's possible that none of this happened, but what we do know is he won't answer questions about whether or not he slept with Fang Fang. And let me just say this: Fang Fang is someone who received probably the worst assignment in the history of espionage.
I mean, God, that would be rough.
Can you imagine?
Imagine the horrors, the flatulence.
Hey, can you imagine getting that call? Hey, Fang Fang. So here's the deal. There's this dude. He's a conspiracy theorist from San Francisco. You need to sleep with him.
Yeah. And you know what? That brings up a great point, because Swalwell was pushing the whole Trump is a foreign asset, oh my God, Russian collusion thing so hard. And apparently at the same time, he was getting colluded by a Chinese spy. I mean, allegedly, many people are saying. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
He was the problem, right? And we have the best part about all of this, by the way, is just the reaction to it. I mean, the article is printed. We should say is at the outset, China is attempting to infiltrate everything all the time. Because you are a target does not mean that you are complicit. They are incredibly active on Capitol Hill with staffers and everything else, trying to infiltrate email accounts, trying to figure out. I mean, a few years ago, they hacked GAO, and they basically took every single profile of anybody who had a clearance, and they downloaded it. Right. So they're incredibly active against America. So the fact that they're targeting people is not the problem. Problem is you got guys like Eric Swalwell who are like at fever pitch about how Russia has basically taken over the White House with absolutely no proof whatsoever and turned out to be completely wrong. At the same time, he's hanging out with the honeypot.
It's too perfect. It's too perfect.
I mean, what a dick.
I mean, and the irony is he's on the House Intel Committee. Like, this guy really exemplifies intelligence, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Absolute moron. Unbelievable.
So, I mean, look, we've got a Chinese spy problem, and apparently Biden is sending boot edge.
That's right. Boot Edge is headed over apparently to China. Like, how bad are things for the average person in China? If you're a Uyghur, you're getting sent to a concentration camp, and now getting sent over a guy whose specialization is like fixing bread prices. Like, Chinese government's going to be listening to his advice, and it's going to get rougher for the average person in China.
But this might be where he got programmed in the first place.
Yeah, right. He's going right back home to the mothership to get reprogrammed. What a guy, Boot Edge. How did he even happen? Oh, man. You know what? Speaking of happening, this podcast is very much happening. We've been hitting, the ranks on the charts, doing very well, thanks to all of you listeners, especially you folks who go on Apple Podcasts and leave that 5-star review and these wonderful comments. And I think the best way to thank these good folks is to read some of the best ones. How's that, Josh?
Absolutely. I mean, the minions are just absolutely performing. I mean, everybody's just it's so terrific. I can't tell you how gratified I am to be sort of grandfathered into this situation because watching what everybody is doing, what you're engaging with, like, taking down Neera Tanden, for example.
Yeah.
Just the day-to-day. It's really, it's important stuff, but we have really a lot of fun doing it. And so let's read a couple of comments, Smug.
I like this one. So it's an inspiration to my child was the title. I was driving my 7-month-old to the pediatrician the other day while listening to Ruthless. My 7-month-old yelled, "Keep the faith" from his rear-facing car seat. Truly inspiring. Thanks, Smug. I live for that Twitter meme. Like, libs always have some line about their kid, and then everyone ends up clapping.
Which is just completely made up out of whole.
Absolutely.
I love it. The next one is made me locker my nephew and friends. After listening to one episode of this podcast, I immediately drove to my nephew's school, kicked open the door to see his history class where he was doing a group presentation on the 1619 project, grabbed all of the group members by the collar and shoved them immediately into lockers in the hallway.
Outstanding. That's from Melitor Rocks. Thanks for that one. I got a third one here. It says, real unbiased look at world events. Finally, a completely nonpartisan and accurate take on today's news. Few understand today's political scene like these two. It's nice to see a pair that understands not all libs are stupid. Many of them are evil. Outstanding. We want to keep seeing those reviews on Apple Podcasts, and we're going to keep reading out the best ones. Yeah, that's a great thank you. Thank you all so much for. I mean, who could have expected the tremendous success? This is episode 16, and we're already up there on the charts. Thank you all so very much.
It's so gratifying. The other thing, Smug, that not everybody can fully appreciate is that I went up to Capitol Hill the other day. I was talking to folks, and there's an amazing amount of lawmakers who listen to this podcast.
It's wonderful. It's great, right? It's amazing. It's amazing.
The amount of gratifying compliments that you get from your rank and file up there is really terrific. And it's really the audience that makes it. And
absolutely.
The fact that we can bring everybody else's story to a 30-minute podcast is really what we're working for.
And that's the thing, is all credit to the minions. I think they're such an incredible, engaged audience that really moves the needle out there. That it's noticed. These senators, these congressmen, they notice, and that's why they like coming on the show.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us again, Smug. You got to sign us out, but we'll be back with you next Tuesday. We'll get more guests coming your way. It's going to be a good week.
And yeah, as always, folks, thanks for listening. Until next time, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. Stay ruthless. We'll see you on Tuesday.